Right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Go Lumio webinar series, where we are providing continuous opportunities, highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We're going to show you how to create lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional best practices. My name is Jennifer Underwood, and I'm a customer success manager from Tampa, Florida. This week's webinar, Maximizing Student Learning with Lumio, features Melody Yu, training specialist from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So, according to the chat, we have everyone from all over the region and outside of America, which is awesome. This week's webinar, Maximize Student Learning with Lumio. I already said that part, features Melody. Just wanted to reinstate that and make sure we all were aware. I got sidetracked. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask those in the chat box today during the presentation, and we will integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during our Q&A period. I'll also work my hardest to also keep up with the chat as we go. We will be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat at the end. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey, and I'll make sure you have that link in the chat as well. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Melody so we can dive into today's webinar, Maximize Student Learning with Lumio.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jennifer. And yeah, welcome everybody. I was also noticing, Jennifer, how the widespread of locations that we have here today. It's super exciting.
Yeah. Not even locations, though. It also like time zones, right?
Oh,
Like
that's
how they're,
true.
yeah, stopping their day at certain points to be
That's
able
true.
to
That's
to
true.
join us. And even more countries and more states are popping in the chat as we speak. So welcome everyone.
Yeah, we are happy to have you here. So, like Jennifer was saying, today our session is revolving around maximizing student learning with Lumio. And we're kind of putting a focus on maximizing their learning by honing in on voice, choice, and differentiation, right? Because we can really enrich our students' experiences if we give them that voice and choice, and also if we give them a little bit of differentiation here. So, what we have is it's like three different categories of how we're going to target that. So the first thing that we're going to take a look is content based differentiation or choice. And let's show you what that looks like now. So what you're going to see here is our game-based flip out card activity, but we've kind of repurposed it. So in the past, you may, if you're familiar with Lumio, you may have seen these as like flashcards or flip cards. But what we did here was assign a color to each card, and green is kind of for the most basic level, right? And this is a math double digit addition activity. Yellow is for intermediate, and then blues are for advanced, right? So there's a couple of different ways this can be used. Maybe you are assigning certain students. You're going to do the green cards, your other students are going to do the yellow, and you guys are going to do the blue, right? And what's nice about Flip Out is that you can sort them as well. Another option might be maybe you're going to have them start at green and work up as far as they can to blue, right? So there's a couple different options here, but just kind of taking note that the difficulty increases as the students work up and as the colors change.
Melody, I was thinking, I love not only do they have the option of selecting maybe the colors to start from, but other students they might be working with, there isn't really like an indication of what level it is, right? So it gives them the like that risk-free learning environment as well as having those choices to be able to work in any of the cards without feeling, just without that extra pressure of maybe some peers in the classroom or so forth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that too, Jennifer, because there is pressure, right?
Yeah,
And students know they know more than we think they do, right?
right.
They're like, oh, what level are you?
Yeah. So
Talking
having
about
that
things like
choice
that.
yeah, having that choice to just kind of pick wherever I want to start, then, it's my option and I can move around the cards as I like.
Absolutely. So, this was kind of a more objective example of how you might use this activity. And what we wanted to do was show you something that's a little bit more, maybe a little more subjective. So, here it's the same flip out activity, but this time we're focusing on music. And what we've got here is color cards. And then we did add a little bonus card here. But basically, in this instance, there are question or statement prompts. And as the colors change, it's more the complexity of the question or prompt that changes. So you'll notice in the green, it says, draw a picture of one instrument you hear. So if you're playing a song for them and you're asking them to draw a picture of one instrument you hear, that's very objective. That what time signature is this piece in? That's very objective. It has a correct answer, right? Whereas once we start going into yellow, what genre is this? So it's a little bit more targeted in the vocabulary, compare and contrast. It's doing a little bit more analysis in that yellow part. And then with the red, it's requiring analysis and explanation, right? You need to expand on that. Like, who do you think this was for? There's a little bit of opinion here. What was happening during the time period this music represents?
What a
And then the
great,
bonus is for everybody. But
awesome. What a great way to increase the rigor and like move up the Bloom's
mhm.
taxonomy students are working. And having the choice, maybe I want to start with an easy one, right? Maybe I'm like, I got this one. I need to get in the flow. And then by the end of the piece, maybe students will be selecting things that are a little bit more rigorous.
Absolutely. And actually, as you were saying that, Jennifer, I was also thinking maybe you're having students pick one card from each color as well in this kind of example where
Yeah.
they choose one green, one yellow, and one red. So they could flip them all and see what they all say and decide which one they want to go for.
Yeah. I like that. It even kind of differentiates their own interests, their abilities. If you're going to draw or not draw, if you're going to explain in an essay or write a picture, depending upon, which cards they select.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we move on from here, we were just curious in the chat if you would say, could you see yourself using this flip out activity for a similar purpose? Now, we have a wide range of people all over the globe right now, right? And in different time zones, like you were saying. But also, I imagine we have a wide range of grade levels, subject areas, and all that. So if you would, like, what would you put on your task cards? Or what are some of your ideas?
Love that
Give
question. I'm
just a
going to
moment
add it
here.
to the chat.
Thank you. Jennifer, what about you? While we're kind of waiting, what do you have an idea for how you might use
I
these
love the
task
idea of
cards?
just students getting to pick whatever like questions they want to work on. And I
Mm.
like picking from the different aspects of Bloom, maybe kind of including different elements. I love the color coding too, but I also was thinking maybe just a picture, right? Like a picture so that students, and maybe as they read and analyze the questions, it
Mm.
kind of determines whether or not, what level of Bloom it's on. But I'm
Oh,
seeing some
absolutely.
things come in the chat as well. Just loving different types of choice boards.
Yep.
Tanisha teaches 6th and 7th grade, and this is something that she would do for a review. Definitely a great review.
Awesome. Well, great. And
Yeah.
if you like choice boards, then you are going to enjoy the the rest of the session as well.
Choice boards are amazing.
Yes, love them. Love them.
Options. And that ownership of learning is huge. Like, definitely part of what we want to incorporate in our day.
Yes. And again, that, like you said, that ownership kind of gives them a little more motivation, right? Um,
Right.
and engagement with what they're doing. And that's exactly what we want.
Yep. Someone said they also love the bonus card
Oh, yeah.
as
And then
another option.
and this one, it says write a storyline for this composition. Think of the 5 W's. So it's kind of like who, what, where, when, why. So you're listening to a song, writing a story. That's something that even if you're saying like, hey, you're going to stick in the green, this is kind of an expansion that is a little low stakes, right? They don't have to know some of these vocabulary words yet, or they don't have to analyze. They're kind of getting the opportunity to be creative. All right. So thank you guys so much. That kind of is a good segue into the next thing we're going to look at, because we were doing content based there, and now we're doing product based. So product is like, what are the students actually creating? And for this activity, we went with a tic-tac-toe board. This tic-tac-toe board comes directly off of the Lumio library. So I think we'll probably have an opportunity to kind of show you how each of these were created, hopefully. So we did just grab the template and we added text, we added pictures, and thought about what are some different project capabilities here that we could have students show off the book that they read in different ways. These are manipulatives, the X's and O's. So students are able to go ahead and click and drag. So maybe you have them using this tic-tac-toe board for the same book or different books. You could have them do, multiple projects before finishing up with this one.
You could even use the X for one book and the O for a different book.
Oh, you're right. So then that would
Yeah.
take even longer. They would probably get to all of them at a
Yeah, and
certain
that would be
point.
a great way to like kind of reinforce that you have to do more than just the same three for every book. So
Mm-hmm.
they can kind of mix it up. And just that gaming element adds a little motivation for students.
Absolutely. And again, this is totally customizable, right? This is for a book project. It does not have to be. Maybe you're doing science instead, and they have to present on a science concept, or maybe it's social studies and they have to present on an important person in history.
Yeah. All of these that you've added are all great ways that they can create that product no matter the topic or the content area, like you mentioned.
Yes. And then the other thing you could do in the middle here, we have that like, got a different idea? Then tell Miss You, that's me, tell the teacher, and we can work it out. So maybe the student is proposing a project idea. And maybe even all of these options you have are generated together with the students. That adds even more accountability and more interest from the students too, right? So a lot of different ways you can come up with these projects.
Yeah, this is definitely a fun one.
Yes, I know I would have liked it
Yeah.
as a student too.
I would have loved any option to have choice in what we were doing, like just sometimes you end up just getting in that pattern. So being able to just think outside the box a little and give students, they're coming up with the same objectives. They're just showing you what they know in a different way.
Absolutely. Awesome. So those are different types of products. Is there anything in the chat that we get to
No,
there, Jennifer? We're doing good.
no, yeah. Of course, you guys know we're going to ask you what are some ways that you might use something like this. So be thinking.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. So yeah, what's a
Yeah.
different project you might do? Personally, on here, my favorite is the diorama, because I've always loved artsy things, and I like doing making things with my hands. But
Yeah.
what about you, Jennifer?
Well, I love all these ideas. I think the book trailer would be super cool because you could make those like quick scenes, and I would probably totally nerd out and have created a diorama in order to make the book trailer, right? Like to be able to video it. But
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is, but when I taught fourth grade, my kids were obsessed with creating cereal box reports. Like it
Oh,
was just a thing, right? Like they'd have to like make up the nutrition value, which is usually like the characters or the settings.
I
So
have seen that. That would be
yeah,
a
it's
fun one to
fun.
add here.
Yeah, but I
I
love how these all go like touch on a different quality or a different like multiple intelligence, right? Because all of these
mm,
bring in different strengths students have.
hmm absolutely. I
So
was thinking too. You were talking about that cereal box one. I feel like I've seen it for health actually, but not
ooh,
cereal, but you
mm-hmm.
know, um,
Yep.
body parts and things like that.
Yeah. Somebody's put in the chat that this would be great for a history topic.
Oh,
like to be able to
absolutely.
convey a history theme and loving the option of being able to submit your own ideas to the
Great.
teacher.
All right. Well,
Great
sounds good.
feedback.
And thank you guys so much for your participation. So, the last place that we are going to offer our students with voice and choice here is in our learning environment. And I think this is one that we often overlook a little bit as teachers. So, here I've just kind of created it's a 3 column sort, right? It says independent, buddy, and teacher. And the intention here is that before we begin our class work time. Maybe they have an assignment of some kind and they're getting ready to do that. They could make a selection of where they want to or how they want to work, basically, right? So maybe these students are going to go, they pull their names over here. You could pre assign kids to the teacher column, or maybe there are students who are saying, you know what, I actually do need a little bit of extra help with that. And they move their own names there, right? But in this way, you're kind of offering students the opportunity to decide to, well, one, they might be letting you know, like, yeah, I'm feeling comfortable with this content, so I can work on this independently. Or you might, have students who just they want to work as a group, or there are students who are identifying themselves as I need a little bit more support from you. Um, and yeah, again, offering that opportunity for accountability and ownership and all that good stuff.
It's a nice visual too, to be able to kind of quickly gauge where's everybody at. I know as a teacher, I would definitely check in and follow up with those that are on the independent side, right? Just to make sure
Hmm.
like you got this and maybe provide them ways that they can like scaffold and even provide some challenge stuff to what they're working on
Yes.
if they're feeling comfortable. But I like that.
Yes.
And then you, it's not like you're having to call a small group because maybe they need reteaching. They get to select where they want to go and how they want to work.
Absolutely. And this could work in a variety of ways. I was talking with someone else about it. And, right now it's set up independent buddy and teacher, but maybe you have these as actual workstations instead, like where it's, my mind's on reading right now, but like independent reading, partner reading, listening to reading on like
Yeah.
well, they don't really have books on tape anymore, but maybe like on the iPad or something like that,
Yeah.
where they can make a selection of how they want to interact with their learning today.
Yeah. And it is all about the choice, giving students that ownership and then providing different ways that they can still accomplish the same goal.
Absolutely. Well, great. So those are our 3 examples. Um,
And can I throw something in the chat?
yeah, go right ahead.
About yeah, so we are getting some feedback that this is something I could try. I've never done something like this before, but I was curious. Those of you joining, have you set up an option for students to kind of get to locally or physically select either the location that they work in for maybe a particular part of a lesson, or whether they're working with a buddy or the teacher?
Or a small group,
Just
maybe even.
yeah. Yep. We've in one of the elementary schools I worked at, we had like those pods with like that common area in the
Oh,
middle. And
yes.
there was a certain time of our day, and I would have loved at that point, I think I used like a giant poster paper, but I would have loved to have the option to do it this way because students could take their device and they would know where they were, right? Whether they could see
Oh,
it
yeah.
or interact with it. But like we would, allow them to work in the center, maybe with other students from other classes, or depending upon the lesson, maybe as teacher groups, we would all be maybe reteaching a portion of the lesson. So if you needed this section or this section, you could pick the different teacher to move to.
Oh,
This is a
absolutely. Actually,
great
now that
way.
you mentioned that too, that could totally be like okay. helping you as the teachers kind of figure out like, okay, who do I need to work a little more with and
Yeah.
who's confident right now. And
Yeah.
of course, that doesn't mean all of the students who are choosing to work independently are where they need to be, right? So like you
Checking
said,
in.
we'll want to check in with them.
For sure. Okay, let's see. We got some good stuff coming in. We usually work in pairs or in small groups. I love that because I know
Mm,
I definitely need time to process. So I always think about those kids that need others to talk things through.
mhm.
I work at a private day placement for students, and most students work in their individual areas or together in small groups
Oh, gotcha.
based on um, their needs. I love that. Yeah, just the concept of some of these different choices, I think, brings to light new ways to be able to explore and do things in the classroom. I feel like possibilities are endless, but we tend to do
Yes.
lots of traditional things because it's comfortable, but it's really neat to kind of think outside the box and try some new stuff. And then in Lumio, you can use these tools to help you manage it. Like you said, as the teacher, being able to make your job easier and have that visual as well.
Exactly. So, what we're actually going to do right now, we do have some time. And if you would like to follow along, you are more than welcome. I believe Jennifer's going to drop a link in the chat for you if you want to follow
Yes.
along as a teacher. But I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate how some of these resources were built. You will get a copy, and I'm actually going to reset this for us. You will get a copy of the file at the end of our session as well. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of demo how these were created just so you can get an idea of how it was done. So I'm going to go and end my lesson, and I end up right here at the library. This is my library and homepage. And we're going to go ahead and start with the flip out activity. And Jennifer, stop me if I'm going too fast or if you see something in the chat there.
I will. I'll let you know. Just
Perfect.
add in the directions on how to get in, and I'll
Awesome.
keep an eye on the chat.
Perfect. And no pressure, you guys. You can also just watch. You can also just watch. So in the upper left here, I'm going to click on the new button. And of course, there's a lot of different types of content that you can add here in Lumio. I'm going to go ahead and start with our game-based activities because that's where our flip out activity is. And there's, a choice of 12 different games you have here. You can click on any of these graduation caps to kind of see how they work if you want. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and click on flip out. And you'll notice I've got facing up, facing down. So facing down is where I put my question types and all that. Facing up is where I want the colors. So the way I actually added that was I clicked on this little mountain icon. It's how we add images or media. And all I did was a search. So I looked for like red rectangle or red square, right? And I'm going to find different colors or different sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with this one. And you can see now that red box has been added. And I just did the same thing. Actually, let me go ahead and copy and paste. I just did that 3 times each for each color. So you get the idea. There it is. And I would do the same for the yellow and for the green, whatever colors you want. Or Jennifer, like you were saying, maybe it's a picture instead of, like what kind of picture were you thinking? Like an animal
um,
group or?
yeah, it could be. Or if like you're doing a book, it could be like a book title,
Oh, you're right.
right? And if different groups were doing different activities, they could be, you could go wild and have multiple flip out charts, right? And have it in student pace, and then students can pick which one they wanted to work on.
Absolutely.
There's too many possibilities.
There are. So let's say this is the bear
I
group or
love the bear.
something.
Yeah, I love the bears.
And a tip I'll just say that I just kind of did without talking about. If you just search a word, you guys, you get a photograph. But if you ever want a like a cartoony version, I like cartoony versions. You'll just put the word clip art or cartoon after it. So Now we've got those there. And then on the other side is where we would put our questions. So, maybe it's we were talking about math earlier. If it's times table, it's like one times, maybe our one times tables are here. 1 times 6, 1 times 10. And then maybe our bears are a little bit harder. 3 times 7, 3 times. And like you were saying, Jennifer, the sky's the limit. You can change this content to be whatever you want it to be.
Which is nice. And all you have to do is fill in the template with whatever. You don't even have to have the red box, right? You can go find it as a Bing Safe search.
Absolutely. So once we're done here with our questions, and you reminded me of something else, Jennifer, that I think I'd like to show in a second here. So once you're done with that, we just hit next. You can choose a theme. We've got a lot of little fun themes here, or you can choose your own custom background image. I'm going to go ahead and just choose the monsters theme and hit finish. And then that activity will have been created. Now, I didn't put as many cards as we had in our example, just for the sake of time, but you could put as many as you like. Preview. And yeah, we got they're so cute. Our 3 red cards and our 3 bears. And what I was just reminded of, let's say you made this template, right? Like we made a differentiated task card activity. I can click on the 3 dots here and duplicate my page. I'll go up to where it says edit activity. And now I can just change the questions. I can leave the pictures on the left because maybe it's my same colors or my same groups. And I can just change the question here to be, what is the capital of Pennsylvania? Right? If you were to add text questions, you would do it that way. So then you could go down and replace each of these. And that way you're not recreating the wheel, right? You are literally just using that template. There's that question. What's the capital of Pennsylvania? And just switching out the questions.
That's nice to be able to do and not have to start over from scratch each time.
Yes. Yeah. Like we said, we're trying to make our lives easier here as teachers, right? Because there's a lot that we're already responsible for and doing.
When you were saying you could have students create the questions or the tasks, I was thinking this would be like a great fun way to do a review maybe at the end of the week and have them turn in like an exit ticket. Like what would be one question you would ask? And then as the teacher, you could make your choice board filled with all of the questions the students have asked. So when they engage, they'll see that they had been the author to some of the questions.
That is a great idea. I love that.
So a couple questions.
Sure.
Can you go back and edit if you want to add questions?
Absolutely. So this is our first page here. I'll just go up to edit activity and you can see I can just start adding from wherever I was.
And this one, I'm trying to, like some of the other games you have up to 10, but I feel like in Flip Out, you can add lots of cards.
You can add lots of cards. It'll change how they kind of appear on the screen, like a really huge grid. I tend to still keep it to 10 because they get pretty overwhelming to see too many cards on the screen.
Right.
But yeah, you can definitely add more.
Yeah. Oh, and then I was going to say Chelsea's question was, can you add images instead of questions?
Oh.
But she sees it now like where you can either face up or face down. You can add those images.
Yes. Yeah. Right here. And then the other thing I'll mention is that you are able to select images from your computer. So I will go ahead and let's say I'm just picking kind of a random picture from my computer here. I had saved, I was showing something about equal groups. So you just click select image, you navigate on your computer to whatever image you want, you hit OK. And now I have uploaded that picture to my Flip Out game.
Yeah, that would be a fun one to have students like write a question for the groups.
Like, I love that idea.
Someone's also asking, can you add text to the background to title each page? So you picked monster theme.
I
What
see.
are the other options?
So if we go over here to our different themes, you can choose a custom theme. So if you made your own background for yourself, like in Google Slides or here, I could do it this way. So let's say we're getting kind of technical. I'm going to make a new blank page and I'm just going to put title here, resize it. Okay. And let's say I want this to be the background of my game. So what I would probably do is take a screenshot of this and save it so that I could then upload it to my page. So let me do that real quick. These are all really great questions.
Yeah. And while you're pulling that up, the other question that I answered in the chat was the ability to add text and an image. I think that was the question. So you can only have a text or the image on either side, like on a side.
Yes. But you know what you could do is just the same way that I took a screenshot right now, I could arrange an image and a text box together, take a screenshot of it and save it and upload that. Let me know if that makes sense.
That's a good workaround. I feel like we as teachers, we need lots of workarounds. And I know if you
Yes.
want, like if you put text and the text is too small, like if you try to write, the question is too large. I've also done that where I put all of the text and I take a screen capture so that you can enlarge the image that already has the question on it. That made sense. I feel like that was a long explanation.
All good. So you can see here, I went to the custom theme. There's that mountain icon again. I clicked on it. I selected this screenshot that I had saved, and now I have it saved here. So when I hit finish, that's the background that's going to be behind my cards. The other thing to consider too is that there's different games that work for different purposes, right? So if the flip out cards aren't right for the equal groups and not equal, for example, I'd probably make a super sort instead, like have my students sort pictures, and then I can add labels to those.
Good point.
All right. Are we good in the chat?
We are. I was thinking to even expand upon that, you could have a flip out with the different activities within the games, right? So one of
Oh,
them could
yeah.
be go to a super sort and do this activity and then come back and maybe write a response or do something from
Absolutely.
different tasks.
I love that. So having them navigate from within the actual Lumio file.
Yeah, simple and easy, right? Just from student pacing.
Oh. So from here, I went ahead and renamed my file so that I would know what it is. And I'm going to hit finish editing because what I'd like to do now is show you where we found the tic-tac-toe board because I know that was popular. So at the top in your Lumio library, you'll see right now it's selected to my library. I'm going to go to Lumio library this time. And there is a ton of resources here, everybody. Like in featured, usually it's some really nice month or monthly themed items. So whether there's a holiday or it's a special time of month, there will be really cool files in there. You'll see that there's different collections. I'm going to go down to where it says manipulatives, and you'll see that tic-tac-toe choice board is that very first one. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And any of the files, like anything you see here, if you like it, click on it and hit save to my library. What that's going to do is make a copy of that page or file and save it to your files. It becomes yours. And you can see that saved really quickly. So up at the top where I have selected Lumio library, I'm going to go back to my library. And now from here, I can go ahead and edit this tic-tac-toe choice board. So I'm going to click on edit. And this is where I can start to customize things. Now you'll notice that This tic-tac-toe choice board, it came in locked. And one thing and so did the instructions. So one thing I want to mention is that anything on this page can still be customized and changed. So if I want to name this my reading response choice board, I click on the box, I hit the lock, click unlock, double click, and now I can change my text. Reading response choice board. Size that a little bit. Okay. And these I can go ahead and change now as well. So, to change any text boxes that are already here, I'm just going to double click inside and I'll write book trailer. And then I would double click the description and just say, directions go here. I'm not going to type out the whole directions for us, but you guys know I had a picture here as well. So to get that picture, at the top, there is a little gallery icon. It has like a heart and a plus sign, and the little mountain symbol is back here again. So I'm going to click on that. And then when I do that, on the left side, there's a toolbar that appears with shapes, that images icon again, and a little chain. We're going to click on the images icon. And then here, I'm going to look for a movie. I forget what that thing is called.
Oh,
movie clip art. There we go. That's perfect.
Came right to it.
It did. I was like, what is that? Then I can double click to open that.
I love
Set
the
it
visual.
exactly where I want. Yeah, I love visuals too.
Yeah. It's shaping up.
So then when you're done with that, you would just make sure to select your items, open your drop down and hit lock so that those things cannot move on your screen, on your board, or on your students' devices.
Maybe we could talk about the adding audio too, because I was thinking if this is a page that maybe students come back to often, maybe they're, to differentiate and provide additional supports, they might want some audio instructions.
Absolutely. So in the upper right here, we've got, I call it the talking head, but that's the button you use to add instructional audio. So if I click on that, it's going to give me a prompt to start recording. Now, if it's the first time that you click on that, your browser will probably, and you're using a Mac, your browser will probably ask you whether or not you want to allow your microphone to access. It might be on PCs as well, but I'm going to go ahead and record. Choose 3 activities from the tic-tac-toe board to complete. Okay, and you can record any kind of directions that you want. So I've recorded that. I can hit play. Choose 3 activities from the tic-tac-toe board to complete. Okay, and you can continue recording. If you don't like that, you can delete and start over. I'm okay with it, so I'm going to click add. And this is how that instructional audio will appear to your students when they are on the Lumio page. So they have access to it as well.
Love it. You can add that on every page.
Yes. Yep. Even on the games.
Yeah. Sometimes the kids hear it, but they just need to hear it again. And you can't always repeat the instructions multiple times. So now they can select it as many times as they need.
Yes.
We do have a question. Can you add recording for separate boxes? Oh, that would be awesome.
You can't. However, we do have immersive reader. So I'm going to exit that lesson to get to my homepage. I'm going to click on start. Okay. And on the left-hand side here, I've got an icon with a book with a speaker on it. Okay. If I click on that, it is going to show me all of the Lumio text boxes that are on this page. And your students will have this as well. So I can click on maybe the directions one. Okay, and I can hit play.
Instructions. Chose 3 activities from the tic-tac-toe board to complete. They should make a vertical, diagonal, or horizontal row.
Okay, so they could click on it and listen to the immersive reader read the directions instead.
A great option. So I always like to point out, and I don't think it's default yet, but to enable it and show where, because it's not,
yes.
I don't think it's on by default
I
yet.
think you're right. So when you want to turn on that immersive reader from your homepage, in the upper right, there's a little button that says Edit Class. And at the bottom, it says Manage Immersive Reader. And this is just where you turn it on for live lessons. Immersive Reader is always on for the student links. So the student asynchronous link, it's always on. But for live lessons, you do need to toggle that on.
And I was just thinking, all these choice boards, as long as they're like set to individual handouts for students to work with individually, like some of these reading response ones, those could all be student share links.
You're
Students
right,
could
absolutely.
work within those at maybe outside of times that you have live lessons going as well.
Absolutely.
The question about immersive reader opening in a separate window. Yes, I believe.
Yes, always. It does open out into that separate window.
Yeah. And nice thing about it is that it's just in the next tab. So students can go back without getting lost.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the last thing, I think really quickly we can make it.
Yes, I think so. We have time.
We have time. So I'm going to go ahead. I came back into edit mode of the initial file with our flip cards here. I'm going to click on the plus sign in the lower left. And I just want to show you guys where I found that 3-column organizer. So we do have graphic organizers here that you could use. I actually, for this one, went to new page and I chose one of our templates. So if you are familiar with other like slide or page making platforms or software, this is very similar. If I click on simple blue template, it gives me all these different page types. I can go ahead. I had chosen the 3-column with this little box at the bottom. Okay, and all we did for that one was I changed these to be independent, buddy, teacher, and I added those pictures. And then I used the text tool here that denoted by that A, and I just started putting in names. And something I like to do is either copy and paste or duplicate my text box so that it keeps the same text size or type that I was using. So then you would just,
strategy.
Yeah, you just continue going until you have all your kids.
Do you want to show them one last thing of pulling in the, pulling in your, what is it called? The reading response from from the Lumio library, the tic-tac-toe. How you could pull it into the same lesson?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm in here. Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah. I'm in here and let's say I want that tic-tac-toe board in here. We can actually insert it right into this file. So down, I'm going to go back to that blue plus bar in the lower left. And this time I'm going to click on Import Resource. And that is something in our Lumio library. So I'm going to click on My Library. And there it is, tic-tac-toe choice board. I'll hit Select. It's going to let me choose which one I want. The one that I want is this first one. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck the second one. I'll click Add. And there we go. And of course, if I had changed all these, it would be the completed one.
Cool. It's nice to be able to put it all in one lesson if you want to have all these different choice boards.
Yes.
The question did come into the chat on the one previously where you were having students go to independent. Can students just write their own names?
They could. If you if I go up here to the magic wand tool, I could turn this into what's called a whole class whiteboard. And when I do that, you'll see it says this is a whole class activity. So students can access this on their own devices and they could put their names on there.
Yep. They could use the pen or they could use the text.
That's right. They could use the pen too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we said, endless possibilities.
It really is like sometimes it's like a preference or a workflow thing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Awesome. We've had some great questions in the chat, and Melody, you've shared some amazing things with us today and really got everybody thinking about different ways to provide options for students to be accountable and to have those interests and be owners of their own learning. Oh, the tic-tac-toe board question came up. It was in the Lumio library under manipulatives.
Yes, Lumio library.
And another great question is all of this available in the free membership?
So you do have access to everything. It's more of a matter of space with the free membership. Am I correct in saying that, Jennifer?
Yep. Yeah, because you have all the same great features and all you can do all the same things, but you only have 50 megabytes of storage. So depending upon how big your lessons are, you might have to make a couple lessons and then delete them, kind of make some new lessons. Before you head out, could you go back into the lesson one last time and show us where student pace is?
Absolutely. So let me go in here to this one. And I would say there's two ways to share it in student pacing. So the first way might be if you're teaching live and you want your students to be able to access this. I click on the class management icon here. Right now we're in teacher pacing. I can toggle over to student. And what that means is all the students logged into the class would be able to navigate on their own. The other way you could give this to them in student pacing is by sharing the student link. So if I click on share here, I could copy the student link and then you could paste it into whatever LMS that your school or district is using, or you could send it via however you send your communications to your students.
And another question just about the
Oh.
paid version was, how do you know? Is there a place to find out if you know if you have the paid version? And I was thinking
Yes.
the only thing I've seen, and maybe you might have something to add to it, is that it says like you're about to be out of space, right? It gives you like that little notification across the top. Can you think of any other way?
I think here, if you're signed in and you go to the upper right where your little like profile icon is, I think it'll tell you. So for me, it says subscribed to Smart Learning Suite. I think
Ah,
it tells you if you are not.
okay. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that. So it would connect you. So we're working with districts, right, to have them add everybody who's paid for their users. So if your district, if you sign in with your district credentials, and go where Melody just showed you at the top in the profile, it should let you know if you've been subscribed.
Really great questions.
Yeah, they're awesome. And I learned something. I didn't even realize that said subscribed.
All right. I think I actually saw. So I clicked on in the lower left here. It's called the page sorter. It's this box with all the numbers. This is how I can see all my pages.
There's not a way to export yet, right? I know there's been lots of conversation about export.
Yes. I believe it's on the docket.
So if you do run out of space, unfortunately, you can't export it yet. But if you're Google, I mean, we're going all into all kinds of stuff here. But if you are, if you have Google integration and you're a Google school district, we'll invite you to join some other webinars where you can learn how to create things in Google Slides and pull them into your Lumio lesson. So you can still have them in Google. You wouldn't have to export. You'd kind of be able to pull them in and save them. But that's for a whole different webinar. So we hope you join
Yes.
us again. Lots of resources here on this page. Melody, you want me to share the resources?
Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Awesome. So if you are looking for additional ways to learn more about Lumio and maximize student engagement with Lumio, there is a Learn Lumio resource page, almost filled with all kinds of wonderful resources, training resources, things in the Lumio library. Definitely our YouTube channel. You can learn more about the Google integration there too, if you'd like, as well as lots of other aspects of Lumio. And we always want you to come back for more webinars. But if you have, I feel like, just a passion for learning, come join us in the ambassadors, and that link is there for you as well.
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Let me grab the certification link, the feedback survey.
Yes. And thank you guys so much for joining us. I know we went a little bit over time here, but you guys just had such great questions. So hope that you enjoyed. We definitely did.
don't see the survey link, so I'm going to find it real quick.
Oh.
Second. Did you see it on the page?
No, you're right.
That's all right. We got it. I got the page open.
You got it. Okay.
Give me a moment.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Don't leave yet.
No, make sure you get your certificate. And so glad. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for your participation and your excitement. We're super happy to share things that are meaningful for you, right? That's our goal.
So here is the link to the feedback survey. And once you've completed the survey, there's about 5 questions. It'll give you a link to be able to click and download your certificate of participation. And you can add your name and the date and use these if your district allows as PD points.
All right.
So I want to send out a big thank you to Melody. Thank you so much for this session. It was awesome. They're great examples.
Thank you too.
Great learning. My pleasure. I loved being part of this session. And thank you to all of our participants as well. All of the great questions, all the great engagement. And as always, if you have other questions, I was going to throw in our
I was just
contact.
looking at that as well.
Yep.
I got it.
Got it? Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
So there's our email addresses in the chat along with social media. So you can feel free to connect with us there if you have additional questions.
Right. I don't see any questions in the chat. I just want to give everybody a chance to make sure they have the survey link, the resource link. Saw that you had added that. I'm going to add it one more time down here at the bottom. If there are no further questions, then we will say see you at our next webinar session.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye.